While I've trekked through Aman Park numerous times during the winter months, this will be my first time here during the spring. 6 looped unpaved trails allow plenty of different views in this preserve, which covers over 300 acres. It's a brisk morning here in West Michigan, but I'm still going to go and search for those blooming wildflowers here at Aman Park. So let's go take a look. I was looking for wildflowers and I found them. Here's a bunch of trillium growing. So I'm going to look for some good compositions. Now in previous videos when I talked about photographing flowers, wildflowers, or anything else in bloom, that it's best to focus on 1 or 3, like an odd number of flowers. Instead of photographing the entire blanket of flowers, choose a couple that are standouts among the rest. So for example, I like this grouping of 3 on top of this tree stump. It's got a dark background behind it, and so that will help show it off, and just kind of a unique setting for it, growing up there all by themselves. It's still a little hazy out, so I'm not getting the sun that I like, but that's okay. Then I won't have harsh shadows and blowout highlights. So I'm just taking a look around the area before I decide which groupings I want to take a picture of or which individual bloom I want to take a picture of. This is a nice shot too, because again you have that dark background behind you of the log. Don't necessarily like that it's a cut down log. It would be better if the log had fallen on its own and it was decomposing, but you see these 2 ends of the trunks, and that kind of adds something different to the composition as well with the flowers in between it. So I was about to leave this little area with all the trillium blooms and I saw this one. Look how cool this one is, framed with these fallen limbs. So you've got the dark background behind it and then a single bloom growing in the crook of it. So look at those leading lines that are formed by the fallen limbs. So that draws your attention to it, and it also gives it something of interest, a point of interest right there. So while walking around and looking at all the trillium blossoms, I spotted this tree stump. And of course it called out to me because it's decomposing, it's aged, it's worn looking. It's all the things I look for in tom trees, but I found it in a tree stump. So I'm going to take some pictures of this, and maybe I'm going to incorporate the blooms in it, or maybe I'm just going to focus on the character of what's left of the stump and how it's falling apart, and that you can actually see through it. So that also adds some contrast to what's going on around it. So you have this tree stump that's decomposing and adding nutrients to the soil, and what's growing around it is new growth and new blossoms. So while in search for wildflowers, I came across this. Look at how the sun is highlighting the little new leaves on this teeny little tree or outgrowth at the base of the larger trees. And it's framed up by the 2 trunks next to it, running parallel. And then you also see this woody vine looking thing that's also framing it up as well. So a shot like this you could do both vertically to emphasize the length of it. You could also do a horizontal shot, then having the 2 trunks as bookends framing up on the other side. What I like about it is the morning highlights coming across in those leaves. So it shows spring, it shows new growth, and it's also a contrast because you've got the dark trunks behind it, the wood behind it, that also points it out. So while I was photographing those highlights, I spotted something in the background. I don't know if you saw it or not, but I noticed today's Tom tree. Look at that one. So look at how that large limb is bent and has some other characteristics to it that just add some interest to it. And the tree is also set apart from the other ones. It's in the foreground a little bit, and its neighbors, its larger neighbors, are a little bit away from it. And the sun is hitting it just right, as you can see with some of the limbs, the upper limbs as well. So I just like how it has its own character, standing off by itself. It's not straight, it's crooked, it's bent. So that for me is going to be a standout tree here at Aman Park. While you're out walking around in Aman Park, you may notice that there's a lot of fallen trees. And while it may appear to be alarming, because it almost looks like a tree cemetery, there's something intriguing about the fallen shapes, and you can use it to your advantage. So find something of interest like I just did, and it makes an intriguing, almost abstract shot. Much like any other nature park, Aman Park is a great place to visit any time of the year. Like I mentioned before, I've been here during the winter months. So here are some images that I shot during the winter season. Now I usually favor black and white and infrared at that, but wow, look at this. I believe these are bluebells. Look how pretty this is. It's hard not to look at this and just want to shoot the entire landscape. But again, focus on a couple and put them in your foreground, and then have the other blooms blur out in your background. That way you're not overwhelmed by just the color of everything, and you also see some detail. Now I may take a vertical shot. See this winding little footpath in the middle of it? That's a really good leading line. It'll help the eye travel back into the background. So that vertical shot may be a wide shot, but let's set it up so that I have a close-up in the foreground. So this is a wow. I mean, I've never seen wildflowers in bloom like this before. Just blanketing the ground in a bunch of different varieties. Here's some more trillium, and it's just amazing to look at. I'm taking a lot of color pictures today, and unfortunately I left my DSLR at home and I'm only using my phone, but that's good because I can show you what you can do with your phone as well. While I found all the wildflowers I was looking for, I hope you enjoyed this exploration of Aman Park. For more information about it, check out grandrapidsmi.gov. Thanks for exploring with me.